Episode 9 is set to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect of Episode 9 that I personally am really looking forward to seeing is, of course, the battle between both Kylo Ren and Rey in this story by JJ. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with one of the ending scenes in Episode 9 within the third act of the film. Specifically, a description of one of the final scenes in the third act of the movie, where it's said that both Kylo Ren and Rey are hanging onto a cliff, with Ren hanging onto Rey's leg as Rey hangs on the edge of a cliff. It's described to be an intermission of the major lightsaber duel between the two. Kylo Ren is said to have his helmet on during the sequence, where it's said to be a moment in which Rey tries to help Ren up the cliff. The next goes over both Rey and Kylo Ren now staring at each other, where a large object is entering the atmosphere of the world they are on, where it hits the surface of the planet, causing a massive explosion that exceeds the size of the explosion on Jedha and Rogue One. However, further in the distance, Kylo Ren and Rey are sprinting for their lives as the shockwave knocks them down, both of them, of course. The blast is said to have been initiated by one of the super weapons above in suborbital space. The last goes over both Rey and Ren now on the ground, where Kylo begins to grab Rey's hand and begins to converse with her about the ways of the Force and the dark side, trying to persuade her one last time since The Force Awakens. So I want to go over a couple of parts about this, obviously, because this sounds like a very interesting piece of the final lightsaber duel between both Rey and Kylo Ren in Episode 9's third act. So we do know that this movie is going to have a lot going for it. It has a lot to offer, especially when it comes to lightsaber duels and lightsaber combat scenes in this movie. So first things first, I want to go over this object that is falling from the sky and going through the atmosphere of this world. Now, it's said that this is initiated by the super weapon over the world that both Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting on. Now, this is obviously the super weapons that are going to make their debut in Episode 9. There is said to be a total of 6 of them by the First Order themselves that may very well be Disney's version of the World Devastators from the EU/Legends material. Now, the other thing that I do want to go over is how there is a sequence in which Ren is actually hanging onto Rey's leg as Rey is hanging onto the cliff trying to survive. So this is a moment in which Rey tries to help Kylo Ren and she pulls him up afterward, and this seems like the moment in which we're slowly, getting that segue into both Rey and Kylo Ren starting to get along before the new threat intervenes and causes another lightsaber duel between the three characters. So these two characters, both Rey and Kylo Ren, they're going through a bit of a shock right now, a fight, a big fight, and a big, moment in which there's a large explosion in the distance created by the super weapon in suborbital space, where they're running, pretty much as fast as they can to get away from that shockwave, which eventually knocks them down onto the floor. And this is where Ren eventually grabs Rey's hand, where he actually goes into this little discussion and starts conversing with her about the ways of the dark side and the Force. So it seems as though that the reason as to why Ren, in a very selfish way, as to why he's trying to save Rey is because he feels that there's still a chance he could turn her to the dark side of the Force and that she could become his apprentice. Now, we saw that as a great example in The Force Awakens, and JJ is doing it once again in Episode 9 in a different scenario and in a different way. So with that being said, I think what JJ is trying to do here is that he's really trying to create this special moment between both Kylo Ren and Rey, where first they're going up against each other, then they're, pretty much in this troubled situation where you have a large explosion in the background, where if they don't get out of there in time, they're going to perish, they're going to die. So they try to sprint away from it, and that's where it eventually transitions into this discussion between both Rey and Kylo Ren about the dark side of the Force, where Kylo is trying to turn her to the dark. Obviously, he's going to be unsuccessful in this movie. Now, what's really intriguing, though, about JJ is that he really does want to bring Kylo Ren down a darker path in this film, and that Kylo Ren is going to be quite unpredictable in this movie. So who knows what Kylo Ren is really up to in this movie by JJ. You know, there's a lot of tricks up his sleeve as to what he wants to do with this character in episode 9. Honestly, I'm very excited to see how this movie is going to end and exactly where it's going to leave the Star Wars franchise, and whether or not JJ will even come back for another Star Wars film in the future. We do know that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to get a deal with JJ where he'll actually be doing a lot of movies mainly for Disney from this point on forward if he gets that deal, so we'll have to wait and see. But as for this whole entire sequence, guys, this sounds very unique. It sounds very fresh and new for a Star Wars movie in which, you know, we have rivals that eventually have a danger that causes them to help each other. So let me know what you guys think about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.